In the northern regions, where mountains overlap like sleeping beasts and rivers wind through the land like veins of the earth, spirit possession is not an unfamiliar phenomenon. People believe that some are born with a spiritual root, destined to stand between yin and yang, between the human world and the unseen realm. When the time comes, the spirit will arrive on its own. It cannot be summoned by force, nor can it be avoided. By tradition, the spirit chooses the host, never the other way around. Each spiritual lineage, fox, weasel, hedgehog, snake, follows its own laws. If the fate aligns, the spirit descends. If it does not, it leaves. Humans are merely recipients, responsible only for preparing the altar and obeying the rules. Any attempt to interfere is considered a grave taboo, one that can invite disaster lasting an entire lifetime, or even across generations. But the protagonist's family broke this rule. His father was a stubborn man who believed fate could be bent by human will. When he realized his child carried a spiritual root, he did not wait for the spirits to choose. Instead, he forcibly performed a summoning ritual. That night, the small house was swallowed by cold air. Talismans covered the walls, incense smoke mixed with rooster's blood, and the boundary between worlds thinned dangerously. 4 powerful spiritual lineages manifested: fox, weasel, hedgehog, and snake. Their presence alone suppressed the room, radiating an authority capable of stabilizing a destiny or crushing it entirely. These were spirits strong enough to guard a host's life, but they demanded discipline and exacted a heavy price. Instead of letting them decide, the father committed an unforgivable mistake. He turned to his young son and spoke words that made even the unseen realm fall silent. Choose. The child did not understand spirits or destiny. He only felt fear. The overwhelming pressure from the 4 great lineages suffocated him. Acting purely on instinct, he rejected the powerful fox, weasel, hedgehog, and snake, and pointed instead toward a dim corner of the altar. There, barely perceptible, was a weak presence. A small loach spirit. No one spoke. In the world of yin and yang, such silence is an omen of calamity. Only much later was the truth revealed. In northern spiritual lore, the loach is not insignificant. It is a precursor to the dragon, a creature capable of ascending to the rank of the dragon lord if it survives enough trials. This loach, however, had suffered severe losses, its cultivation shattered, forced to descend and hide its true nature. Being chosen was not fortune, it was karma. For 7 years, the loach spirit refused to fully possess the host. It did not reveal itself, did not grant blessings, did not accept the altar. On the surface, life seemed normal. But beneath that calm, it was quietly altering the protagonist's fate. Accidents occurred, but never fatal. Disasters were avoided, but always at a cost. Those around him began encountering strange misfortunes. This was not protection. It was 2 destinies entwining, waiting for the moment they would collide. The true calamity began when the protagonist turned 19. A child in the village drowned under mysterious circumstances. The body was found in an unnatural position, eyes wide open as if staring at something beneath the water. The villagers called it an accident, but those sensitive to the unseen knew the truth. A life had been exchanged. That same night, Blind Lou appeared. Though blind, his spiritual sight was sharper than most. The moment he entered the house, he sighed heavily. There's not much time left. He warned that if the protagonist did not complete spirit possession, Before the age of 20, his soul would be locked. He would live on, but as a fool, his consciousness hollowed out, his destiny sealed. The loach spirit had protected him for 7 years, but this was the absolute limit. The only solution left was a dangerous summoning ritual. Red threads were tied around the body, a rooster was placed before the altar, and blood was used as currency to negotiate with the spirit realm. One misstep would mean death. During the ritual, the Weasel clan descended, carrying overwhelming malice. They viewed the forced binding of a dragon-descended spirit as an unforgivable humiliation. The air thickened with killing intent, and ordinary people collapsed just from standing nearby. Then, the loach spirit finally revealed itself. No longer weak or insignificant, its presence surged like a rising tide. Without a single strike, without a single word, the weasel spirits were forced to retreat. This was absolute dominance, the authority of a being that stood above lesser lineages. The Dragon Lord set his condition. An altar would be established, not for servitude, but for repayment of karmic debt. From that moment on, the protagonist ceased to be an ordinary human. He became a bearer of karma, stepping onto a path where every step was soaked in cause and effect, where survival itself carried a price. This was not the end. It was only the beginning of a fate that dared to defy heaven. The moment the final seal shattered, the world went dark. The protagonist did not fall asleep. He lost consciousness. Sound vanished first, then sensation. His body became distant, weightless, as if it no longer belonged to him. The pain from the ritual, the tearing of yin and yang, the screams and chaos outside the altar, all of it dissolved into silence. When awareness returned, he realized he was no longer in his body. He stood within a vast, formless space, suspended between light and shadow. There was no ground beneath his feet, yet he did not fall. The air itself felt alive, heavy with pressure, like standing at the bottom of a deep, endless sea. This was his consciousness, or rather, what remained of it. A ripple passed through the darkness. The space trembled. Then something moved. From the depths of the void, a colossal presence emerged. At first, it was only an outline, long, serpentine, coiled in layers upon itself. As it drew closer, scales like flowing obsidian reflected faint light, each one etched with ancient patterns older than language. Eyes opened, golden, cold, endless. The moment those eyes fixed on him, the protagonist felt his soul exposed completely, stripped of every secret, every thought, every lie he had ever told himself. This was no ordinary spirit. This was Longjia. The Dragon Lord did not roar. He did not announce himself. His mere existence crushed the space around him, forcing the protagonist's consciousness to kneel without his body ever moving. So, the Dragon Lord spoke, his voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You are the one who dared choose me." The words were not shouted. They did not need to be. The threat within them was absolute. The protagonist tried to speak, but his throat felt sealed. His thoughts trembled, scattering like ash in a storm. Every instinct screamed at him to submit, to flee, to disappear. But there was nowhere to run. "You do not understand what you chose," Longjia continued calmly, "nor the debt you have created." Images flooded the void. A shattered cultivation path, a loach spirit forced into degradation, a near dragon dragged down from ascension and bound to a mortal fate. Years of suppressed power, of humiliation, of endurance. Each image carried weight. each one pressed against the protagonist's soul like a verdict. "I lost centuries of cultivation," Longjia said. "My ascension was severed, my name forgotten, all because of a single ignorant choice." The pressure intensified. The protagonist felt his consciousness begin to fracture. He knew then this was not a conversation, it was a reckoning. "I could erase you," the Dragon Lord said. "Right now, your soul would scatter, your body would rot. No karma would follow me." The void fell silent. Then, "Why don't you?" the protagonist asked. The words escaped him before fear could stop them. For the first time, Longjia paused. The golden eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in interest. "Because," Longjia replied slowly, "you survived." Another vision unfolded. Accidents that should have killed him. Disasters narrowly avoided. Death brushing past him again and again, yet never claiming him. "You endured 7 years of suppression," Longjia said. 7 years of altered fate. 7 years of karmic distortion. An ordinary human should have collapsed long ago. The Dragon Lord leaned closer, his massive form coiling through the void. "You lived," he said, "and that makes you usable." The word carried no warmth, only inevitability. "I will descend," Longjia declared. "I will integrate with your destiny. I will anchor myself within your life." The protagonist's heart sank. "But understand this, Longjia continued, his voice turning sharp. "This is not protection, this is debt." With a single motion, Longjia extended a claw, massive, radiant, carved with runes of ancient law, and pressed it against the protagonist's chest. Pain exploded, not physical pain, but something deeper. A tearing sensation within the soul itself, as if invisible chains were being fused into his existence. "You will repay my lost cultivation," Longjia said, "through trials, through blood, through karma." Each word etched itself into the protagonist's being. "You will walk the boundary between yin and yang," the Dragon Lord continued. "You will resolve the debts of spirits, the grudges of the dead, the imbalance of fate." The pressure eased slightly, but only enough to allow him to breathe. "You do not get to refuse." A final vision appeared. An altar, candles burning steadily, blood drying into sigils, the red threads of fate tightening around his name. "This is the completion of the ritual," Longjia said. "The moment your life ceases to be your own." The Dragon Lord began to withdraw, his form dissolving into light and shadow. As he faded, his voice echoed one last time through the void. "Awaken, mortal. And remember this, from this moment onward, every step you take will echo in both worlds." Darkness collapsed inward. The protagonist gasped, his eyes snapped open. He lay on the altar floor, body drenched in cold sweat, lungs burning as if he had been underwater for far too long. The candles around him flared brightly, their flames steady, unnaturally steady. The air had changed. The oppressive pressure was gone, replaced by something deeper. Weight. Inside his chest, something stirred. Not violently, not aggressively, but undeniably present. When he stood, the world looked the same, yet entirely different. Shadows felt heavier. Sounds carried lingering echoes. The boundary between living breath and lingering death felt thin, fragile, transparent. He could sense it. Whispers beneath the floor. Residual karma clinging to the walls. The unseen watching him and stepping aside. The ritual was complete. The spirit integration had succeeded. From that moment on, he was no longer merely human. He had officially stepped into the yin-yang world, and there would be no turning back.